So, you are very well known as, first of all, a very intelligent porn star who I follow you on Twitter, and I like the way that you always are shutting trolls down.
I didn't mean to do that, but here, when I got on Twitter, it was in the midst of like this Gamergate controversy and all this shit that was happening.
Yes.
And so, of course, I stuck my nose into it because why wouldn't I?
Right.
And it's funny because people tell me, like, oh, you're so intelligent. I'm like, I don't know. Like, I don't feel that intelligent, but, but I feel like I will argue a point if I know that they're wrong.
Right.
You're not correct about that.
Right. But let's talk a little bit about your background because you have a very impressive background. So you worked in engineering, specifically in aerospace for 6 years. Yeah. So what exactly did you do and what was that like?
Well, so in my 6 years, I worked at a very large aerospace firm. Mm-hmm. And first couple of years was engineering rotation, but I ended up specializing in environmental test for space-based optical systems. Okay. So what that means is like thermal testing. If you send let's say, some sort of military communication satellite or something like that. You're dealing with optical lenses. It's basically big cameras in the sky. Okay. Right? Okay. So your lenses are exposed to the radiant heat of the sun on one side and the cryogenic temperatures of deep space on the other. And how do we keep these things from warping and able to take pictures? Wow. So that totally went over my head, but it sounded really sexy. I see, and that's why so it's funny because that's why people think I'm smart because I just know shit that they don't know. Right. But it's really like watching paint dry. When you actually functionally get into the job, it's literally I'm looking at a fucking chamber of something that's a space-based environment, like turn it into space. Yeah. And then we're thermocycling and we're watching things change like a tenth of a degree. Yeah. An hour. That's it. So 6 months of that shit. Oh my God. Yeah. So it's a very like tedious, specific thing. And I worked on a couple of big programs and then I ended up in telecom after that. And I was a tech trainer. Yeah. So I did that and then AV and then I ended up here. So wow. Yeah. Did you ever, so how did you transition from aerospace engineering into porn? What's funny is one of my bosses, in telecom, was doing websites for the adult industry. This is back in like 2008, 2009. Wow. So I was a tech trainer at the time for a very large Japanese firm. And we had a rack, I had a whole bunch of servers, rack servers that I would use for testing, but they had outside lines. Like anyone who's ever worked at a corporation knows you can't get outside access to most websites, especially pornography. They block them on the ports on the router. Yeah. So my boss was using my servers in my training room to do like beta testing and handle some of this porn stuff. Yeah. Wow. Totally unethical, but neither of us work there anymore, so I don't give a fuck. Yeah. To say it. So that was kind of my first exposure to the industry. So wait, how did you find out that he was doing that? Did he tell you that? Yeah, he told me. Because we used to travel a lot together. We were tech trainers. And handling mostly like voice over IP. That was when that was a big deal. Video over the internet. Huge. Yeah. So what we'd work on, we'd be out in like Timbuktu, Iowa or something. Yeah. And that's what he was doing in his spare time. Wow. And he was using my server rack and then he was teaching me how to do some of the stuff. So that was kind of my first exposure to like porn as normal people. Yeah. Because I'd meet these people he was working with. Yeah. And, no, like tech people or like people in the industry? No, in the industry, like performers and their husbands. Like who? Do you remember? I think it was Mackenzie Lee. Okay. Yeah, I know Mackenzie. British girl. The British girl. Yeah. Because I think it was down in Orange County. I worked down in Orange County at the time. So anyone who lives in Orange County can pretty much deduce where I worked. Yeah. So that was my exposure to, and I had dabbled with a lot of sex work. So I was telling you earlier, like I had been an escort in college. Right. That's how I paid for school. Right. So, and I had modeled as a teenager. I had a really weird life. So it kind of like, it made sense to me. Right. It's just that at that time, and that would have been the time to get into porn. Right. But, I was busy being an engineer. So, so how did you, so you escorted through college. How did that start for you? That started when I was modeling. And a lot of the agencies, and this is the thing that's a bullshit when you talk about like mainstream versus porn and we get all the shit, But most mainstream modeling agencies are no more than booking houses too. And I'm not making allegations. I'm just saying that it happens functionally, whether or not the owners of said companies know this or not. Right. This is how a lot of these girls are making ends meet, because you're not making ends meet off of an Oakley ad once a month. Yeah. I know that with a lot of times with mainstream modeling, it's either like you're Giselle or you're like not getting any work. Like there's no in between. Yeah. And I did that in like the 90s because I'm 5'8", you guys, so I was tall and I was like 100 pounds when I was 12, 13. I got scouted. And it was commercial print, but they were still using film at the time, like Polaroids.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I remember.
Yeah. So
I used to shoot film.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. And it's like, so like I worked for Target, like all these big companies, and the money was good. And then all of a sudden everything went digital. And they're like, we don't need you to wear 15 different t-shirts. We'll wear one t-shirt and colorize it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that changed everything for us.
Interesting.
So, and then now you see like they use average people, like regular people as models like on Amazon or whatever. So it's changed that whole, the 90s was like the era of the model.
Right.
And it's over. But I had an agent that set me up, a party. So, it was money change hands.
And how was it for you? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I was like, dude, this is awesome. Like somebody wants to pay me to fuck them. Like, great. Like I have no problem with this. I have no moral issue with it. It didn't bother me.
You never had any bad experiences?
I haven't. Like, I really haven't. And I don't know if it's me. Like, I hear these horror stories and I feel so bad for these girls, but man, I haven't created.
Do you think that were you careful about the clients that you met, or do you think that like you just kind of had a different attitude, or maybe or maybe you just got lucky, or? It
was probably a spidey sense thing. It was like, like I think I go with my gut a lot, and so that was part of it. And also, like I'm a larger woman. I'm more adept. By the time I was escorting, I was also boxing.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah, so because Holly and I both box, and so I wasn't afraid.
Right.
And I think that's, unfortunately, like if
guys can sense if you're vulnerable and they think they can take advantage of you.
Absolutely. So I didn't get those kind of clients because they knew I will kick their asses. Yeah. I was like, that lamp will go through your fucking forehead.
Yeah.
So like, fine. So I got a lot. I loved my clients though. I had great experiences. I actually felt like it was a very therapeutic thing to be with people when they're lonely.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what were most of them like as people?
Business guys. Just business guys, like tropes, be like the married guy who's unhappy but doesn't want to leave his wife because he's invested, and it's like so sad because you're like, this sucks.
Yeah,
like, you guys are. You hear these stories like these people are married for 15 years and they're so not close.
Right.
Like you're spending your disposable income seeing an escort. Come on, man, this is your life.
Yeah.
So I think I have a lot more empathy for people and their different stages. And then some of them were just like lonely guys, business travelers, like whatever. So
I've heard from quite a few girls that a lot of times when they do meet with clients, like sex almost seems like the least important part of the experience.
Yeah.
That a lot of them just like kind of want someone to hang out with, someone to talk to, someone to spend time with. Like the sex usually like lasts a short amount of time. Yeah. And then a lot of it is like just hanging out and kind of having like a conversation.
Yeah, totally. And I think a lot of, especially, for men, I think as women, we have friends, we have friendships, we have friend networks. And like for me, like I'm bisexual. I've always had a lot of female, I have female friends. Like we have a dynamic group of people where we can have emotional connections or spiritual ones or whatever. But with a lot of men, they don't have that because they're male friends. It's a competitive environment. So they're only safe with like a sexual partner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
or they can't like reveal like their more vulnerable side to their male friends.
Yeah, totally.
And maybe, if either they don't have a wife or they have a wife that they can't feel like they talk to and that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I think that's where, it's a lot of clientele are men. And that's why, because it's hard for them to find. For most women, we can find things to fulfill us.
Yeah.
And it's not hard for most women to get dick. Like it's
no, that's true.
Right. So I have a lot more compassion for men after doing that, and I think, and also I worked in mostly male worlds. I worked with all men in a gym, all men in my boxing gym, and I actually don't have like an inner like innate fear of men.
I don't either. I actually often feel more comfortable in a large group of men than I do in a large group of women.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, just like historically, it makes sense. Like they did a study, double-blind study on testosterone, and they found that actually, even though it's considered to be an aggressive compound, like, there's, testosterone is toxic masculinity. Well, actually, it's not. It's a collaborative hormone because when they did this double-blind test, it's this test where, let's say, there's two strangers. One of them gets $100. That stranger has the $100. Person A, let's say, can offer person B a monetary amount, anywhere from $1 to $100, right? If that person accepts, they both get to keep the money.
Right.
If that person declines, then neither of them get the money.
Okay.
So what they found when they microdosed, especially women with testosterone, they found that they were more egalitarian, more likely to give, let's say, I'll give you $50. Because you think about it, like historically, prehistorically, hunter-gatherers, that buffalo is not carrying itself.
Yeah.
Men have to work together.
Yeah.
It's in the best interest of everybody.
Right.
And so I think men get a really bad rap because whereas actually estrogen is a lot more of a combative hormone.
Interesting.
Yeah, and they also found when they told women they dosed them with testosterone and they didn't, they were very aggressive. Like, I'll give you $1. I'm going to be super masculine. But then when they actually gave it to them, totally different outcome.
Huh.
Yeah, so hormones have a lot to do with it. And I think that, if you kind of understand these principles, like I can predict male behavior much better than a lot of female behavior.
Interesting.
Which makes sense. It's like,
it's kind of true. I feel like men are more, they're more predictable. Yeah. Whereas women is like, you don't know like what you're gonna get.
Oh yeah, and hell, I'm guilty of it. Look at estrogen spikes. I'm like, coffee mugs going through the fucking wall right now. Like, who the fuck? Like, fuck you. But that's. So I think I have a soft spot for a lot of these guys. And after seeing him, like, I had one guy like break down and cry, because he was so sad that he had to pay. Like, he didn't want to. He loved his wife, and he was just miserable, Yeah. And you're like, God, that sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously you are somebody who's a proponent. You believe that prostitution should be legal.
Oh yeah. It's an absurd notion that any government, I'm a big fan of small government. Any government has the right to regulate what I do of my own free will and consent with my body.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you guys. It's like what George Carlin said, fucking's legal. And like, paying for shit's legal. So why not like just put them together? I think that was it.
Yeah.
Something like that. Or pay for fucking.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I've always felt that way. As my mother says, it's the oldest profession in the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. Did you see the thing with the primates where they gave them currency?
No.
Oh yeah. So they did this study. And they gave, I think they were bonobos. No, it wasn't bonobos. It was chimpanzees. They gave chimpanzees currency. And then they taught them a system. They gave them currency for fruit. Uh-huh. Well, the first thing that started happening is the male chimpanzees were giving money and fruit away for sexual favors. They shut down the study because it was so embarrassing. So I'm like, they're doing this is part of our nature.
Yeah, it's not surprising because even if you're not directly paying for escorts or prostitutes, sex sells.
Everybody pays,
and we use sex to sell everything in our society. We use it to sell hamburgers.
Oh, the $6 burger. Remember?
Yeah. Exactly.
Huge.
We use it to sell everything.
Yeah, totally.
So, I think it's. I agree with you. It's a little bizarre.
It's such a sign of like, this overwhelming like daddy state kind of thing of like, I'm gonna regulate your pussy. It's like, fuck you.
How do you feel about performers who look down on other girls for escorting? Because you see a lot of that in the industry. They're like, oh, she's an escort on the side. And you hear that kind of like chitter chatter.
I think, it seems like to me, and this is just based, and look, I've only been in the industry for 4 years. So this is my like really rudimentary assessment of it, but it seems like it's a legacy thing. It's kind of like talking about working with trans performers or crossovers where there were people in the 90s who were rightfully scared of HIV. And so went into this like scorched earth mode of we need to circle the wagons and nobody can fuck anybody outside the industry. And I think when you hear this concern about escorting, or you can hear concern about working with crossovers or trans, it's like, oh, they're disease factories. And it's like, that's not true. It's certainly not true now. And so you have a lot of old information, I think, and I think that's where a lot of this hysteria comes. Because I'm going to tell you, most of the clients for escorts, they're not men who are getting a lot of sex.
Yeah, they're
pretty low risk population overall.
And then did you find that a lot of them want to use protection or they don't?
They all want to because like especially guys who are married.
Yeah, they don't want to bring something home to their wife.
They're terrified. Yeah, we're more of a risk to them than they are to us.
Right.
So I can't speak for the the $20 street walk. I'm sure that's a whole different thing. I can only speak to my own experiences. Right. But I don't see, like, I understand where those sex workers are concerned. But, I think the industry and a lot of the people who say that, it's a lot of slinging shit. And it's a lot of like, people finding a way to fuck with each other.
Yeah.
And I stay out of that, like, not really interested.
Yeah. I just think that as long as people are practicing safe sex outside of the industry, like what you do in your free time is your choice. And the thing is like, we don't know what people are doing in their free time, you know? And I mean, even if girls aren't escorting, how do you know they're not going to the club and getting hammered and fucking some random dude in the alley just because they're 20 years old and they're drunk?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know? After, I mean, Coachella, EDC, and every one of those festivals, I'm like, how many bad tests are we going to pop this time? Because that's where the shit really happens.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in my 20s and I was like hammered and I was sleeping around, dude, I never used condoms.
Oh, no. Like
and I've never, knock on wood, got an STD in my life.
Yes.
Which is like, I can't fucking believe how I like won that lottery.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I know.
The first time I had an STD was in the industry. Like, that's insane. Like, it's just, and it's just the consequence of, you know, like things spread. And so we have to be aware. But, you know, the testing works. Especially with HIV, testing works. So I'm kind of, like, I don't understand.
That's why I get frustrated when, like, there's an HIV outbreak and we cause a moratorium and then, like, we call a moratorium and then they're on the news and then the news is like, HIV in the porn industry. And actually, that's the testing system working because almost every time they're catching somebody who's tested positive before they've gone in and started working.
Absolutely.
And then we call the moratorium. Everybody stops working. We test everyone, you know, and we're so thorough. And I mean, we haven't had an outbreak in a long time.
No, it was like over 11, 12 years.
Yeah.
You know, from onset transmission. And plus, you know, and HIV's changed too. You know, a lot of the gay people I know, they're on PrEP there. Or, you know, I have a friend who's HIV positive and he's on all his antivirals and he doesn't register and he's with a younger partner who is aware of his status and he says, I don't mind. I'd rather almost be with somebody who's HIV positive and knows their status is on antivirals because his viral load it's non-transmissible and the guy's on PrEP. So I think that there's like the general public is kind of behind the gay culture and how they're handling things. And we're still looking at it from this 90s model.
Yeah. Like people don't really understand the advances.
Absolutely.
You know, it's crazy. I was talking to my parents, you know, who've obviously were in the industry forever.
Yeah.
And they remember when HIV first like kind of came around in the 80s.
Yeah.
And my mom was still shooting movies at the time.
Oh.
And my dad was telling me how they had this like blood truck, like blood testing truck show up at their house. And they were like, when they were auditioning people for the movie, they would have them go, and this was completely what's the word? Oh my God, voluntary on their part, on the part of my parents, you know, and they were like, okay, well, now that this has come about, we feel that we have a duty to test these people to make sure that they aren't carrying this before we, you know, book them in the scene. So they had this blood truck outside of our house because they ran the office out of the back guest house. So I was a kid and I was there and there was this blood truck there and they had these people come in, audition for this and then go in and like get tested for HIV.
Wow.
And actually that was when my mom decided that she didn't want to shoot movies anymore.
Oh, wow.
Because she just was like, you know what, this shit's getting too real.
Yeah.
And so she stopped. And then she went back to, and most of what she did was shooting magazine layouts. And back then, they weren't shooting penetration.
Ah, interesting.
Because this is before the internet, obviously.
Yeah.
So if you look back at like, you know, old penthouses, old hustlers, old club magazines, high societies from the 80s, there was no penetration. It was all softcore. And it was funny too, because there was a very specific rule about even where the guy's penis could be. So it couldn't be fully erect. It couldn't be pointing directly at the vagina, like looking like it was about to penetrate. It had to be like at a 45-degree angle, like pointing down. So it's like pictures of like these girls like looking all like hot, like they're going to get fucked. And this guy with like this half limp dick. It's very bizarre. But the problem is because, you know, they were distributing these magazines all in different states and they all had different like obscenity rules. And then Canada was really strict about it. So they had to be really careful about what they were showing in the magazines. And then the internet came along and it changed everything.
Oh, wow. That's so, you know, it's funny now that you say that. I remember seeing pictures like that and going, wow, that guy's like not excited to be there at all.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. No, they couldn't really get hard because they never showed penetration.
Oh, wow. I see that now that makes sense.
Yeah.
I was like, what happened? Like, why, like, you know, porn stars at that era? Like, cause I was like, I think he had a bigger dick.
Yeah. No. It was that's like the way it was.
That's fascinating.
So weird, right?
That's fascinating. And it makes sense because like a lot of the good performers, like Vanessa Del Rio, like, like I love her work. She's one of the first porn stars I ever saw.
Yeah.
But she got out in the 90s because she, you know, and I've read a lot of biographies where a lot of them were like, I can't film anymore. I'm scared.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I mean, at that time, it was a mystery disease and people were dying really probably largely of the medication too. It was so neurotoxic. The one that they, I was reading about this the other day. The first FDA-approved AIDS cocktail had actually originally been for leukemia, but it was so neurotoxic that they repurposed it and started giving it to AIDS patients. And that's why so many of them were dying en masse.
Wow.
Criminal.
Wow. That's crazy. We've come so far.
So far.
It's amazing.
I mean, with medicine, like, they didn't even really they weren't really doing anything with DNA back then. I mean, everything's changed in medicine. It's great.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. So you were married.
Uh-huh.
And your husband works mostly he works in mainstream now.
He works in mainstream.
But he was in porn in the 90s.
He did some porn in the 90s.
So, but you met him because you said you only got into the industry 4 years ago.
Yeah.
So when you met him, you didn't meet him in the industry.
No, not at all. I wasn't in the industry when we met.
Okay.
Yeah. So like we've been together since I got in the industry.
Okay. So was he kind of somebody who helped introduce you to the industry?
He was always been supportive of it because he understands it. Because he had done some porn in the 90s and he still shoots. He sometimes runs camera for like Gamma and some of these other production houses. He's friends with some of the directors, so he's familiar with the industry and he's enlightened and he understands that this is a career. And also, like, and I think my husband and I are fans of each other. Like I'm a fan of him and his work, and he's a fan of me and my work. Not like in a like fan way, but I think we're proud of each other and the work we do in the world. And he and I both see pornography as a really important piece of like the human psyche. It's like we are the shadow outcast. Like we are the holders of the collective unconscious, the sexuality in society, you know? Yeah. So we're doing something valuable. But he's always been really great about it because he was also a gigolo in his youth.
That's so funny.
He can sling some dick. He's a coxsman. So he gets going on set and performing and that not being real life. Yeah. But also, why not be present and appreciate it and like it and not be uncomfortable? Because I think that, you know, I understand a lot of partners are very, you know, there's some jealousy or concern. Right. And like my husband and I are so much more than sex that like nobody's going to replace him. Yeah. So we're best friends. Like if we're not together, then we'd be best friends. Right, right. So it's kind of like it's moot, you know? Yeah. So basically, like he's not threatened by your sexuality. Oh no, not at all. And you're not threatened by his. No, not at all. Yeah. No, I mean, because to me, it's like I actually think maybe it's an ego thing on both of our part where I'm like, my husband's fucking sexy. Yeah. So yeah, of course, like he's like that's why I married him. Like that, and he kind of feels the same way about me. So it's kind of and I think that that's a healthy way to do it. And I think there's always growing pains in any industry because you're kind of like going, okay, how do people manage this? But from the beginning, this has not been I've never been enmeshed in my personal life in the industry. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You keep it separate. Kind of. I mean, it's like, I think it's hard when you're 20 and you're single and you're dating other performers and you're basically like. And also too, you don't really know yourself as a person yet. No. Like when you're in your 20s, especially if you're 20, I didn't know anything. No, God, no. Oh my God. No. I work with these girls who are 18, 19. I'm like, well, bless them. But like, I could never have done. I didn't start until I was like almost 31. Yeah. And I've still learned a fuck ton about myself in 4 years. I have totally grown and changed as a person. Absolutely. And this industry will do that. Forces you can confront your issues, and you either slay the dragon and you come out on top, or it'll devour you, and you have to. Yeah. And when you're young, you just don't have that skill set, the toolkit to go, wow, what does this mean? This is coming up for me. Right. I have to confront this piece of myself. Right. Right. You know. Yeah, it's all about the journey. Totally. And I think pornography is amazing because we get to do these roles that are really verboten and they're things that we're not supposed to do and it's concepts and, whether it's incest or, fucking your friends or whatever. And you're like, oh, we get to explore that. Yeah. You get to live out these fantasies in a safe place. Totally. And it also, too, it challenges you in your relationships with other people outside the industry. Totally. I know so many people who have lost. And for me, I mean, first of all, I'm not a performer, so I know that I don't put myself out there in a way that other performers do. I recognize that. Yeah. But also, too, I come from a family that worked in the industry, so I've never had to experience the thought of possibly losing, my parents or my siblings or my friends or anybody because of what I've done. I've never had like those kinds of consequences. Yeah, and that's a real, to me, it's like, and I keep my circle small anyway, but I think you get to a point in life where you're like, you know what? I'm going to do exactly what I want to do. And if I'm not harming people, and if people who matter to me, who are close to me, love me and I love them. But this is a very like bounded thing. It's a very like conditional type of love that you hear in the industry. I hear it from girls whose parents have disowned them. And I'm like, what a bunch of assholes.
Yeah.
And I think the harder part for a lot of performers is having to go, wow, they never loved me at all.
Yeah.
That's the real part, because if they did love you, then they wouldn't give a fuck what you did.
Right.
So it's a lot of people having to confront, like, you know what, my parents were shit.
Yeah.
My family was shit. And saying that, because there's a stigma around being honest.
Yeah.
So I believe in radical honesty. And that's a scary place to live.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to be on board.
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to get hurt otherwise. Because it's not a personal thing.
Right.
So if I do porn, somebody doesn't like it, well, you know.
Yeah.
They don't have to do it.
And it's interesting too, like the way that different parents react. I remember Joanna Angel came on the show and she was talking about when her parents found out that she was doing porn.
Yeah.
And, you know, her parents are, you know, very strict Israel, Jewish, you know, family. Yeah. And she was saying that, you know, and she was very much involved in the punk scene. Oh, yeah. And her like punk friends rejected her.
Oh, interesting.
You know, and actually she said that she started off just doing like topless stuff. So before she was even doing porn, her like punk friends who were supposed to be like, fuck the system, revolutionary, you know what I mean? Like those are the kinds of people that you would think like wouldn't give a shit that you were doing that. They all like turned on her and rejected her. And then her parents, these strict religious people, you know, they weren't thrilled about it, but they loved her. And they supported her and they embraced her. And she actually ended up like going home and like being with her family after like her friends turned her away for like her decision in life. So like it's amazing these stories you hear about like, you know, these parents who have a certain, you know, certain belief system, but you know, if they really love their children, eventually they'll just come around and they'll be like, look, this is your decision as long as you're being safe and you're happy, like, you know, we love you and we support you.
Oh, totally. And I think, you know, that's the part that, like I said, I think that's the rule. That's where it's traumatic for the girls. It's not that they're rejected. It's that person would reject them. It's like, that's the painful part. And that's why, you know, 18, 19, 20 years old, you're just individuating from your parents to begin with. Like, you haven't even done that, let alone to come to terms with the fact that, wow, these people really don't give a fuck about me.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's okay. Like, some people just don't have the capacity to love the way you need. Yeah. And so you have to find that.
Or they just have such like incredibly deep-seated issues that they just can't.
Oh, totally.
They can't embrace it and they can't. I mean, I think honestly, one of the most important things about growing up and, you know, really coming to terms with, you know, who you are in your relationships with other people is recognizing that not people are going to let you down and to manage your expectations.
Absolutely.
And that everybody's doing the best they can with what they have.
Absolutely. And that's like completely key. You just have, and that's that, like, it goes full circle, that full love loop where you finally go, you know what? These people reject me because they're not whole. And I cannot be upset with somebody who's not whole. Yeah. Because they don't even know. It's like in the Bible, they know not what they do. And I'm not religious. I'm an atheist. But it's like, that's kind of a universal principle. Some people just don't have the capacity. And then you get to choose if you want to be around them, if you want to love them from far away, or if you want to detach. Like, we have that choice in life. We get to make our own family. We get to make our own friends. And also it's indicative of, like, you know, if you're like, let's say Joanna's punk rock friends, I'm like just hypothesizing, but if they rejected her, their discomfort with their own sexuality, their discomfort with the system, and kind of that. And so, you know, she got to make new friends that exalt her. And like, so it's a growth process.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of incredible, actually.
Yeah. It's great.
It can be painful, but it's so rewarding to find out, like, you know, who your friends really are.
Absolutely.
And who your tribe really is.
Absolutely.
You know, and that's something that, you know, I think I've definitely discovered. And sometimes it can be really painful when people that you thought cared about you just couldn't, just, you know, kind of pulled away. But, you know, I've always kind of felt like, you know, it just, I don't know. I try not to hold people at fault for that.
Absolutely. It's a waste of time. Like, it's like time is the only currency you can't buy more of.
Yes.
So that's it. Like, we're all on terminal. Like,
I watched some like inspirational video on Facebook the other day where they were talking about how time is currency.
Oh yeah.
And how you can spend money, but then you can get something back. You can get that back, but like if you spend time, you can't get that back.
Absolutely.
Like, and how we don't value time in the same way that like we value money.
Completely.
But time is like the only thing that like you can never get it back.
You can't borrow it. You can't buy it. It doesn't matter how wealthy you are.
Yeah.
It's literally, and I did a lot of hospice volunteering in my 20s. It was,
oh God, that must have been it
was interesting because I
have like a huge fear of death. Death freaks me out.
Well, it was part of it. Like, I think I was trying to confront that because I did all these hypnotherapeutic courses and I got all these certifications in hypnotherapy because I was trying to like re-engineer my brain. Like, it's a total engineering thing. I was like, okay, how does my brain work? I want it to be optimal. But I went and I was doing the hospice volunteering. I had these like delusions early on to be like this, beautiful thing, and like you send people off, be with their families. And it's like actually really like it's people at their most raw, and you see like the ugliness of the families. They're fighting already over the items. This person's not dead yet. Like, there's a lot of that shit, and so it kind of shatters your disillusion. It disillusions you to like this idea, this kind of grandeur. It's like we're all getting by.
Yeah.
So your goal, like, to me, my goal in life is just to do the best with the time I have here.
Yeah.
And that's all I can do. And have good people. But, we're all ashes to ashes, dust to dust eventually. So, like, what mark did I leave?
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that we were all, it can't be something that consumes you, like the idea of death, but it can't be something that we completely ignore. It's like something in the middle.
Yeah.
Because we don't know. Nobody knows.
Right. So like I said, so death is like one of my greatest fears. Like the idea of like non-existence like freaks me out.
Yeah.
What is one of your greatest fears?
Greatest fears. I think the greatest fear I have is that like something will happen to the people that I love. That's my like.
Death specifically, or just in general?
Death or something, like I think I worry a lot about the people I care about.
Yeah.
And that's like, that consumes a lot of me, and I don't even realize it's like a background program. But other than that, I developed a fear of heights, and sometime in like the last 5 years, I don't know what the hell. I went to the Grand Canyon, and I think that was the onset of it. And I was standing it didn't bother me when I was younger.
Yeah.
And for some reason, I was looking down, I got complete vertigo, and I was like, holy fuck. Like, I felt like I was going to fall.
Yeah.
And after that, I can't, like, look down at arenas and stuff. I don't know what the hell that's about.
But what about flying? Is that not a problem?
But flying doesn't bother me. For some reason, being in a mechanism, like, I'm in like a little habitat. I don't love to fly just because it's a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
But it's like, but like the height thing, I'm like, well, if we're going down, we're all fucking going down.
Yeah.
It's just whatever, But the thing with like the grandness of the depth of something like the Grand Canyon, I'm just like, oh.
It's funny because I sort of have a fear of heights too. Do you ever like, I don't know, for me, I have this strange, like, lizard brain fear that I might actually jump.
Yeah.
Or something
or be
like that.
pushed off or slip. Like I have.
Like it's like you might actually, and you know that you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But like I don't know. I feel like maybe because in a split second, you could do that.
Yeah.
And you could literally like just change your life.
Totally.
And it's just like this, I mean, you're at the edge, you're at the precipice of a decision or something like that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And also like at the Grand Canyon, it kind of slopes down. They don't have like fences and swim part. And I'm just like, God, you just fall.
Yeah.
And it happens.
Yeah.
Like, of course, like then I looked it up and like it happens like a bunch of times a year, like kids fall in the Grand Canyon and shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, I know it's like partially Darwinian. I'm like, watch your fucking kids. In the Grand Canyon. I'm like, come on, man. I know it's horrible to say, but like, come on. It's a Grand Canyon.
Yeah.
Put them in a stroller.
Yeah.
But, and I feel bad for the kids, but it's still like, I don't know. I had the same thing. I went to I was an orchestral contest or a concert, and, I got nosebleed seats because I wanted to see this opera. And I was there for like 20 minutes. I was like, I can't watch this because it was straight down.
Yeah.
I think it was in the like Orange County, something, one of those. And I was like, I'm starting to I'm holding on to like the armrest, and my knuckles are turning white. And I was like, I got to get out of here.
Wow.
Yeah.
And you have no idea where that came from.
And I'm not generally afraid of stuff. Like things like that don't bother, like physical stuff doesn't bother me, but heights, man.
Interesting.
Yeah. So that's
all right. So I won't book you in a scene on like a crane.
No. There's people, like you see these Russian kids that crawl up these buildings and taking selfies. I'm like, what the fuck?
Yes.
Get them down.
Yeah. Or like, or they like, isn't there a whole Instagram where they like just bungee jump off of like buildings and shit like that?
Yeah, there
like,
is.
Oh, fuck that.
And they do the live video and you see it. And I'm just like, and anytime I'm like a glutton for, like, I want to be masochistic. I'm like, I watch those. And I'm like, ah.
Yeah. No, I can't handle that.
Yeah.
I don't know. It freaks me out. So you also work with trans performers, which is something that a lot of people won't do. And it was interesting. So I had D'Arc Light on, and then I also had Eva Paradis-on. I can't pronounce her name in the amazing Italian way that she pronounces it. And she's a trans performer. And we were just talking about how, and like I said, I've been in the industry 20 years. Yeah. And there's no way that even a decade ago, like mainstream performers such as yourself, such as Jessica Drake, such as other like big names would ever do a trans scene. Right. Like there's such a separation in our industry between the gay scene, the straight scene, the trans scene. And there's actually like a lot of like intrinsic homophobia and transphobia in the straight industry. Yeah. So have you like had a lot of pushback because of that?
Well, so the first trans movie I did was like 2.5, 3 years ago. So I was only in the industry for like a year, but I met River Stark, who she's a combat veteran, who's a trans woman. And we got to talking. I come from an army family and stuff. And we wanted to tell her story. So I played her wife. And so she comes back from war. But when I wanted to tell the story, this is what was the most important thing to me. Like she was trans cool. Like, whatever. Like, I wanted to tell the story of this combat vet who comes back and realizes she's a woman.
Right.
Like, that's a fucking big deal.
Yeah.
You go to war and then you come back and like,
you go to war, which is like such a masculine environment.
Yeah. Like, talk about like just a total chrysalis, like transformation. Right. And then also getting to play the wife that's just terrified. But I got a lot of pushback when I decided to do it. Because they're like, oh, you can't do that. You can't do that, Mercedes. You can't do that. That's
now. Who told you that? Like fans, your agent, like
my agent wasn't happy about it. They didn't tell me not to. They were not happy. I think they thought, well, you're gonna kill your career, but whatever. Yeah. And then there were other people in the industry that were like, you shouldn't do that. And I was like, now that you told me not to, I'm still going to do this. Like, I'm going to do this. Like, I'm going to fucking do this like 10 times harder. Yeah. So, it was a great fucking story too. Yeah. Because in the movie too, I had a scene with River, and then I had a scene with a trans escort that I hired, who's Aspen Brooks, who's just phenomenal. And I was her first cis female ever in life or in camera. Wow. Yeah. She was 18. Yeah. So it was really cool. Yeah. And we had a really positive experience. And so when I did that, and that was, it was 2-3 years ago. Back then it was still considered to be not like it's improved now. Like where we're at now, there are bigger names because I don't think Adriana had done that. I don't know. Jessica had, like, I think that I actually was there, and I love the trans women. I love their community. I love the artistry and the pageantry and the creativity and
also the bravery.
They're like such fierce bitches. And I'm like, yes, girl. Like,
I mean, can you imagine like being born into a gender that you did not feel you belonged in?
No.
Like that is and then having to try to change that, and then having the, the stigma and the name calling and the violence brought against you by a society that doesn't want to accept you for who you are, and feeling like, and I have, I told this story to Eva too. I have a friend who I adore and who I consider to be a very liberal person. And I was shocked when, we brought up something, the trans, subject came up, and he was like adamantly against it. And he was like, I just think people have too many choices these days. Like, you're a man, stay a man. And I'm just thinking to myself, I'm like, why would anybody, like, unless they felt that was really the path that they had to be on? And can you imagine, like, the kind of soul searching you have to go through? God. Why would you make that choice and put yourself through, like, the agony you're going to go through, not just, like, physically with, like, the hormones and, like, the surgeries, but also, too, like, the way you're going to be treated by society, the way you're probably going to be shunned by your family and friends. Why would somebody put themselves through that unless they felt that was, like, truly their destiny and truly who they were?
Absolutely.
And what an incredibly agonizing and difficult journey.
Oh, absolutely. And I think maybe I have more empathy for it because, like, when I was in college, I like went through this period of time where I thought I was a lesbian, and like I realized I'm just bisexual. It's just whatever. But I had to sit with it because I was boxing and I was like around all these men. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, who am I exactly? And that's a really minor fucking thing compared to going, oh my God, I'm in the wrong body. But I think that it's a historical thing. And I think people don't realize this too, that the transsexualism goes back like to Babylon. Like there were, for example, like in the, the cults of Inanna and the cults of Ishtar, which were some of the greater goddess cults, there were transsexual priestesses that were considered to actually be exalted, like almost demigod status, because they were the embodiment of the male and female unified in one body. So this is an old practice. This is not new.
Right.
It's just that with media now, these are things that were hush hush before, and you didn't know because most of them lived as women, and so. And also, like, there were trans women. Like, a lot of women joined the Royal Navy back in the 1700s. So people have been doing this for a long time.
Right.
Unfortunately, I think it's been politicized, and it's hurtful to that community of people. But one thing I do love is I see, like, the trans community kind of coming into their power. You were at the TAs, and I'm like, so proud of them. I'm so proud of these people who've been so brave and so, like, willing to just do something different that works for them. Because I'm a libertarian. I don't give a fuck what people do. Like, like, as long as you're not hurting, like, kids or animals, I really don't care.
Yeah.
But I think that a lot of the bigotry, especially coming from a lot of men, they're afraid of their own sexuality, their attraction to these women.
And I think also, too, it probably threatens their own sense of masculinity.
Absolutely. Because it can be changed. It can be modified. And, hormones. Yeah. Hormones change. They can allow you to, and somebody had an interesting hypothesis. Like, I don't know if you saw the movie Cloud Atlas. It's a really interesting film. It's by the creators of The Matrix, who are actually both trans women.
Yeah.
But they had the story about these people. They're like entities, like consciousness that manifest themselves in different times and places as different people, but all kind of have some interlocking story. It's kind of an interesting movie. And it's possible. Maybe like people's spiritual essence is gendered and they come into a body, they incarnate, and the body's not the right one. They have to modify it.
Right.
But like, who am I to say? I don't fucking know.
And that's their journey, and maybe that's their challenge.
Yeah. And like, cool. We live in a time and place where that's possible. Awesome. Yeah. Like, I don't see what the difference is. Like, I don't want to hear from some gym bro guy who takes steroids that trans women are gross. I'm like, dude, you're doing the same thing in a different way. Yeah. You're augmenting yourself to be who you want to be. How is this different?
Yeah. How do you feel about the suggestion that, like, crossover performers are dangerous STD-wise?
Oh, it's such an absurdity. Like, it's such an absurdity because when you deal with crossover performers, and like, I work with D a lot. I love D. Arclight. He's a personal friend of mine. They test exactly the same. It's science. Like, maybe this is my engineering background, but this is science. It's really simple. If people on a 14-day test, they don't run any more risk to me, whether they're crossovers or straight. Again, that's a 90s model of, the gays are getting the AIDS and they're giving it to us. And really, I don't see that. I think that the gay industry has their own separate thing, because for a long time they needed to have their own testing because some of them are HIV positive. Yeah. But now
it's easier to transmit it through the anal walls as opposed to the vaginal walls. Yeah. But then that also raises the question, how does that differentiate between a girl who does a lot of anal?
That's the thing. I mean, anal is such a standard in our industry now. Right. I don't really see that, like, as an issue. And I think that I had a really good conversation when I first started in the industry. I will always be grateful to Sir Tom Moore, who you can find on Twitter, who shoots for Trans Angels. Yes. And because he was a photographer on a shoot I was on, and that shoot, I was working with a performer who was a crossover. And I didn't know this because I was brand new. I was like 4 or 5 months in the industry, and I didn't even know what that meant. So it came out. Because I guess this guy...
Actually, we should probably explain to our audience, because I realize sometimes that we throw, like, industry jargon out there and I don't explain. So a crossover performer is somebody who does gay scenes and I guess maybe trans scenes as well. Yeah. And they also do straight scenes. Yeah. So just for those of you listening, that's what that means.
Yeah. Yeah. So I worked with this guy, and it ended up being a thing because what happened was he worked with a couple of girls, and then he had some sort of, like, trolls online that were stalking him. So every time he changed his name and go to straight porn, they'd, this guy's really a gay porn star, and they post all this shit. And so, I'm hearing all this from agents. I mean, there's a lot of very well-known agents that will not let their girls work with crossovers. Yes. Right? So I'm hearing all of this, but I talked to Tom Moore. I asked him about it because he had a BDSM background, and he and I became friends. And he explained, he's a nurse, and he explained to me the science and the testing and how it is, why it is the way it is. So I always credit him because he actually sent me down the path of here's the scientific inquiry on how this testing works. And if you test for HIV, like the way we do with the microRNA test, we're looking for viral load, not antibodies. So that shortens the duration. We can see the viral load if 14 days ago you had no viral load or a low viral load, it doesn't replicate fast enough in 14 days for it to be transmittable. Mm-hmm. So as long as you test again, so every 14 days, we're good. I mean, the science on it is...
So you're saying that like somebody could test at 14 days and they might have it, but they wouldn't be able to transmit it within that 14-day window is what you're saying.
Yeah, because the viral, because HIV transmits based on viral load.
Right.
Right. So
it has to be a certain amount of viral load in order to transmit. Okay.
Right. And so if you understand that, then I'm like, okay, they could have gotten HIV yesterday and I could fuck them up the ass today, or they could fuck me up the ass, but it doesn't mean I'll get HIV. Mm-hmm. So it's a viral loading issue. People don't really understand that.
That's interesting because actually I didn't really know that either.
Yeah. So that's how that works. That's why we do the 14-day test with the microRNA. And there are some people saying, oh, but it looks for the virus. And so if your viral load is too low, you show up as clear.
Right.
Well, that's true.
Right.
That is true. However, if the concern is getting HIV, what do I care if this person has had HIV even? If they don't have it now and they can't give it to me.
Right. So because the concern is transmitting it.
That the concern is transmission. This is why I think California State just, moved it into misdemeanor status off of felony status in terms of knowingly transmitting HIV to another person, because realistically it can be managed so well now. It's not the death sentence it was. Mm-hmm. But there's a big lobby on making a lot of money on scaring people on this too. There's a lot of money changing hands.
Yeah.
For this to be this thing, like it's healthcare,
Yeah.
So you look at the lobby, look at the money behind it.
Follow the money, right?
Follow the money. Like realistically,
yeah.
When you start looking into this, you go, wow, this is as much ado about nothing. So Tom Moore explained this to me. Mm-hmm. And that's why after that, I was like, cool, I can work with all these people.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You totally just educated me on something.
Yay.
Cool. I want to ask you also about OperationMilf.com.
Yes.
And you come from a military background. Yes, and so I would imagine that obviously you have a certain affinity towards veterans.
I do.
And so tell us about this website.
Yeah. So what happened, I love the military. For all the reasons, because I grew up around them. Mm-hmm. And my dad he was Army, and he was a civilian contractor. So I come from like that kind of rough and tumble background. I think people can tell after they talk with me a little bit.
Yeah.
So for some reason, I've always generated those kinds of fans, you know? And these guys were sending me pictures of themselves and their dicks and stuff. And I was like, I want to fuck these guys. These guys are hot.
Okay, so you actually like dick pics.
I love dick pics.
Oh, that's hilarious.
I love it. I'm like,
you're the only girl I've had on who's been like, yeah, send me dick pics. I'm like, I fucking hate dick pics.
Oh, I love it. Maybe it's the egotist in me, but I'm like, you got your dick hard for me, or you thought about it to send it to me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's right. And that's why I make them do cum treatments. I'm like, I want a picture of your dick hard in front of my porn.
Nice.
To stroke it to my porn, do a video.
You know, it's really funny. I once had a guy send me a photo of his cum all over like an 8x10 picture that he'd printed out of me.
Yeah.
And he sent it to me. And at first I was grossed out. And then I was like, you know what? That's the most authentic compliment I've ever gotten.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't understand the hatred for, because I'm like, fucking cool. Like, but I don't want like a general dick pic. I want like a specific.
Yes.
Like, I want it to know that dick was hard because of me.
Yes.
Like, I have my ego in this. Like, don't fucking send me your hard dick for somebody else. Like, get the shit out of my inbox. But I now I've collected them, so I want to turn it into like a coffee table book.
Oh God, that's great.
Of dick.
Yeah. So that's hilarious.
I think they're cool. Like, it's awesome. Like they send me, it's like, oh, it's like a postcard from a gentleman caller, but it's a penis, you know? It's nice. And plus there's like such a variety of penises.
There certainly are.
And I was like, cool, this is awesome. Like, it's a cornucopia. It's a cockacopia.
Cockacopia.
Yeah.
Okay, so MILF, Operation MILF.
Okay, so Operation MILF. So I wanted to fuck these guys, and I was like, well, how do I do that? And I was like, oh, I should just fuck them for my site. I could just make them amateur talent, like, which I can't do with like active duty. I actually have a couple of friends who are kind of like important people in Arlington who are like, hey, Mercedes, can you like not fuck our guys who are active duty? And I'm like, because they're okay with it covertly. They're like, good. Like, like rally the troops, but don't do it while they're active duty because it's a problem for them. And there's security clearances and stuff. So it's all veterans now.
Okay. So people that are no longer active in the Army.
Yeah. Okay. No, Army, Navy, Marine Corps. I like, for some reason I have a role of connection to the Marine Corps. Like I know a bunch of Marines. I do cameos on a thing called Vet TV. Which is down in San Diego, and they've got their own like Netflix for veterans, veteran content. Fucking hilarious guys. So I shoot. Like I'm just doing scenes though. I've done like close to seven-ish that are publishable. Some of them are shorter, and I'm not doing porn scenes. Like I'm not doing like scenes, like with lights. I'm doing like amateur content.
Yeah.
So it's basically me just cherry picking dudes that I want to fuck or ladies.
And how's that gone for you? Because I had this is a professional production, but I had a show on Playboy TV called Adult Film School, and the whole premise was amateur couples having getting professional sex tape made. So it was like real couples that were together, and none of them had ever done it before. Yeah. So, usually husbands and wives and stuff like that. Yeah. And the fail rate in terms of like guys being able to get their dicks hard was like 80%, dude. It was horrible.
I can totally imagine, because all the pressure too.
Yeah.
I do real low pressure. Like it's a real like.
Yeah, because we had like 30 people on our set. It was a huge production. We built these massive sets. I mean, the pressure was insane.
Yeah, that's what makes especially our cocksmen in the industry, who I think don't get as much credit.
I totally agree with you.
It's a difficult job, but that's why, like with these guys, like either I'm doing spy cam, I'm doing cell phone, handy cam, like it's sex tapes. And these are guys who are young and dumb and full of cum. So like, so they'll get their dicks hard. Like
So you've been pretty successful with that.
Yeah. And plus they signed up. Like these are the guys with the bravado who go, hey, I want to do this. I'm going to smash it. And some of them do really well. And I did one, like, actually, Mickey Finn, he's kind of an amateur performer. So I did a scene with him that was more pro with, like, the lights and stuff. Because I realized one thing that was fucking him up, the first couple ones I did that weren't I couldn't publish, was the lighting. Yeah. It really fucks people up when they're not used to it. Like, we're used to this. Yes. So it's no big deal. I'm like, oh, there's lights on. Yeah, of course. But,
because, it's literally like being put on a stage with the spotlights.
Oh, yeah. And then, the guy's dick has to get hard. Like, talk about a fucking, like, emasculating experience. Yes. You can't do it. So.
Oh God, I can't even tell you. Like it was, I humiliated so many men on that show.
No, I bet.
Honestly, I would come home every day and be like, I'm just a dream crusher. I'm like destroying these people's relationships probably because the wives and the girlfriends would get all pissed because their boyfriend couldn't get hard. They'd be like, what's wrong with you? Like, don't you think I'm sexy? And it has nothing to do with that. No. It's just the fact that you've got 30 people watching. Yeah. You've got a massive set. You've got all these lights. You know what I found would get people more than anything was the silence.
Oh yeah.
Because normally, like when you're getting it on, you put some music on or something like that to set the nothing. Because we, copyright issues. Yeah. So there's a guy with a boom holding it right over you, and it's like, okay, action, and it's fucking dead silent, and it's all on you, and there's just 30 people like watching, and it's just like, oh, it was awful.
Oh yeah, especially because you're doing it for Showtime too, so it's just such a like.
Well, it was for HBO.
Oh, HBO. I'm sorry.
I mean. Playboy TV. Jesus Christ.
So Playboy TV.
Playboy TV, yeah.
Sorry. But, that's like those crews are huge. Playboy TV. Like I did a thing for Playboy TV. It was like this fitness show or whatever. But they had like this huge like film style crew. Yeah. Like 30 people. And I was like, wow. Like, lights and like I probably would have a moment of like, okay, before fucking.
Yeah, totally.
Because it's a lot of fucking people watching. Yeah. Like, even, like, we did something, I was, like, rolling on the ground being sexy, and I was like, this is weird, because there's all these people watching. Yeah. And we're used to our skeleton crews.
I know.
And we're all friends.
And I've got, like, 2 assistants at the most.
Yeah, and that's
and a makeup artist, and me.
And it's great because it's like a family. Like, after a while you're in the industry long enough, like, hey, Holly. Like,
exactly. Like and everybody knows each other. All the assistants know the models, and exactly.
Comfy,
it's a little community.
Totally. Yeah. And that's what I love about it, actually. Yeah. That's what I love about porn. Yeah. So that's why I said, like, it's not a traditional porn. It's not even a traditional fuck-a-fan. Because also, the thing with the military, and I love them so much because these guys, if you look at like where a lot of the deployment zones are that aren't like Southeast Asia, they don't have any like formal outlet for their sexuality. And like porn has been banned in a lot of the barracks because there's more female staff and stuff like that. So, but these guys are jerking off in 2-minute intervals in the latrines. And that's psychologically damaging when you're in a war zone, and then you actually you're totally disconnected from your sexuality. Like, the Roman Legion always had, a legion of basically prostitutes.
They would follow them.
That would go with the legion. And that makes sense. Yeah. And also you keep all of the diseases in the pool together. What are these guys going to do in Fallujah? Yeah. I mean, like the best they have is like there's Arab families, I hear all about it when these guys get back, that'll, prostitute out their daughters. But you're talking like, this is not institutionalized, and these guys need to have that. You're in a war zone. So I think pornography has a great benefit for that, especially that contingent of men. And I encourage their use and consumption of it.
Because it's a safe way for them to be able to like
outlet
meet a need. I mean, the thing is that men need to like, it's scientific. Men need to expel semen on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, like, it's not good for you.
Absolutely. And they're in an anxiety inducing environment.
My God.
So that's a calming thing.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
So that's part of why I have like a real affinity for them and doing the project that way. Because people had said, well, you want to do a fuck a fan. I'm like, well, I don't know if I want to like just like reward people for jerking off all the time, like in their basements. So, like some of them, I'm like, come on, bro. Like I'm not helping you if this is a crutch.
Yeah.
Let's be honest.
Yeah.
This is not healthy.
Right. You're talking about people with porn addiction?
Like addiction, like serious addiction.
Yes.
It's not like a lot of people, but there's some people where I'm like, okay, like let's talk about getting out in the real world. And,
Well, I mean, like, look, there's a lot of things that people can get addicted to, you know? I mean, coming from something, like I'm a recovering alcoholic. Yeah. So, like for me, alcohol is a fucking problem for me.
Yeah.
I can't drink it. I can't touch it. That doesn't mean that alcohol is bad.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean that other people shouldn't drink alcohol.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean that like, Smirnoff is full of bad people. They're out to get me. It's just like, I personally have this strange little glitch in my fucking brain where I can't drink alcohol.
Right.
Some people have that with pornography. Some people have that with food. Some people have that with exercise. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't it's just a symptom of a deeper issue.
Absolutely. 100%. And that's where like I can't vet that. Like I can't, if I do a fuck a fan, I want to make sure that I'm doing it ethically.
Yes.
And that I'm not enabling somebody into something that's unhealthy for them. It's like with OpMilf, like no married guys, no guys with kids, no guys with security clearances, no guys whose careers could be inhibited by this. Like I've got a lot of protocols, like a list that I put them through because I don't want this to end up being a damaging thing for them.
Right.
And some of them, like some of them have really distinctive tattoos and stuff. So I'm like, I can blur their faces and they can still show their buddies or whatever. Like I that's me. People know that it's them without having to expose who they are, their actual identity. Because I'm careful about that because I think about the implications, especially for a lot of them that were security contractors.
Right. Do you only blur their faces if they request it, or do you do it to everybody? Okay.
If they request.
Okay.
I don't do it. Like if they're willing to talk about it, then I'd rather have them on camera. So it's not like a real, it's very case by case. Like that's why it's a very informal kind of thing. It literally, and it was funny because I announced all I put on Twitter it was like a year ago. I said, I'm going to do this. So any vets hit me up. And then Military Times took it and all these different military sites. But it's been a little slow moving because it's just been hard to find the right house for it. And also I'm just doing this on my own time. This is just my little pet project. So it's kind of like, but this year I plan to really ramp it up once the site relaunches. So it'll be OperationWolf.com. Pornstar Platinum will be hosting it. And by next year, I should have a lot more scenes because I want to start shooting a bunch in the fall.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it's cool.
God, you're such an interesting person.
Thank you.
I love it.
You're interesting.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there anything that your fans should go check out that you think is like a really great, strong scene that you've done that you're super proud of?
I feel really good about my scenes this year. Like I decided last year, I was like, you know what, I'm going to be here for the long haul. So I should like really take this very seriously. Because not that I didn't take it seriously before. Yeah. But I think I wasn't invested in it as art. Yeah. So that changed for me. And I was like, you know what, let's treat this as art. Every time we go on set, how do I make that? I've got a couple of anal scenes that are coming out that haven't hit yet. One was with, both were with Marcus Dupree. One is for Darko, Johnny Darko, and it's him, Bill Bailey and Marcus and I. And I haven't done like a DP yet, so I want to do that eventually because I love anal, but I like DPs more. So, but we didn't film a DP. Yeah. So that's gonna be really good. And then an oil scene I did with Marcus for Pat Mine, yeah. On Elegant. I don't know when that'll come out, but I'm proud of those because Marcus and I together, like, energy.
I can imagine. Yeah. He's an intense performer.
Oh, he's great. Like, we did a cop scene like earlier this year and it wasn't anal. It was just like rare for him. Yeah. It was super fun. It got a lot of, and I loved it because they gave me an official cop uniform as opposed to sexy cop.
Oh, cool.
So it was dope. Because
who was that for?
It was, for Reality Kings. It was shot by Billy Visual. And Billy just went all out. He got like a cop car.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
I love Billy.
He's great. Oh, he's so cool.
Yeah.
And his wife's cool. And
yeah.
They're great people. But, that's like, I really like that. And so now they've been giving me like reality cop things and I'm so stoked on that.
Oh my God,
because I don't have to be sexy cop. I can be like real cop.
Yeah,
I'm down for that.
That's amazing. Mercedes, thank you so much for coming on. It was such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Can you tell some of your possible new fans where they can find you on social media?
Yes, you guys can find me on Twitter at @TheMercedesXXX or on Instagram at BasedMilf.
Nice.
And then OperationMilf.com. Or you can email me. Email me at bookmercedescarrera@gmail.com.
Perfect.
Yep.
And you guys can find me at Holly Randall on Instagram and Twitter. I actually also created a Facebook page and a Facebook group for this podcast. So just go to Facebook and search Holly Randall Unfiltered, and I will accept you into the group, and we go and we talk about all the cool stuff that I do on the show, upcoming guests, and all that kind of stuff. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you next week.